I shouldn't say this, but I think you should break rules. I think it's important to break rules. And I'm sorry, parents, but this is my truth. And he asked you the thing I'm not supposed to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today, and I'm your host, Tiberius Boy! And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's guest is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a curriculum developer. Do you have any idea what a curriculum developer is? Well, neither do I. So let's talk to this lady and find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Dr. Crystal Gifford!
Hello, Tiberius and everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you for inviting me, and I'm excited to see what all of your guests have to say about curriculum development.
Okay, so you are a curriculum developer as well as the CEO of EdgeTech Global. Well, can you explain to us exactly what is curriculum development?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So, as you go into school, and often you go in and learn, someone had to put together the program or the structure to help you go through levels. And similar to gaming, if you're going through games, you've got to have the next level, the next level, the next level. A curriculum developer is the one that figures out, how do I take these objectives that you want to learn and put them into those bite-sized pieces so that you, as the learner, can take those bites and have fun with them.
Okay, so what made you interested in designing systems for content creators?
It came by necessity, really, when I began to work in curriculum and building courses, and learning was what I always cared about. And along the way, somehow I started developing the courses. I just noticed there were gaps, and I wanted to teach finance, but everything was geared toward investments. And if you don't know how to even make money or manage money, how would you know how to invest money? And so I started to, through financial curriculum gaps, fill in those gaps. Next thing you know, I was getting hired to build curriculum. I found that entrepreneurs, if they just structure their curriculum a little bit more, can get more impact. And so, as an economist, I cared a lot about making a new and bigger impact. And I felt like I could do that through design of how do we go through the learning process.
So, Crystal, how long have you been doing this?
I became a professor. Well, I'm not going to tell you my age. That tells you too much information. I'll tell you it's been 25 years. I was a very young professor. It happened magically, and I thought I would just do a little thing while I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. Just like your listeners, like, what do I want to do with my life? So I walked in and I said, "Hi, I think I can teach a class for you." And it just so happened that everything lined up, and before you knew it, boom, I was a college professor at a young age, and I fell in love. I realized I could make an impact with multiple people at one time by standing in front of the classroom.
So, why does the average person need a system or a curriculum?
I love that you asked that question. So, for most people, they think of learning because, as I like to say, formal education hijacked the love for learning, and we want to steal it back with my company, EdgeTech Global. And I really became interested in developing and creating curriculum because I felt like learning is the most sacred, most powerful, juicy thing that we have on the planet. Our brains are wired for it, yet we put it in a box and then everybody thinks they don't want it. Education is the one place on the planet where people will pay full price and ask for less. Can we do less work? Can we get out of class? Can we skip? Can we leave early? And I thought, there's a problem in the system when people are asking to get out of it. And learning is that first and foremost thing we do as a baby. And so I feel like it's sort of my mission in the world to be a part of bringing learning back to a fun place and making it so that students like you and even me, as I'm learning now new technologies, to continue throughout life with learning.
So, as you know, I'm a content creator and I do the show. So, could you make a system for me so I can make money?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things I love is that because of the new advances in technology and everything that's coming out with AI and tools and development, you no longer have to have a full level production, although you guys do a great job with your production on your show, but it doesn't even take all of that to get started. What you could do though is take this content, put it into structures so that people can follow a journey. Once you give the customers a journey to follow with an objective at the end, then you can monetize that because people will gladly pay for that outcome. And it starts to create systems. Now, of course, you can't sit and get on the phone and call everyone every time who's going to do a little course of yours. So that's where we put it inside the technology and systems that will carry the delivery of that content. So you record it one time and people get to listen again and again, similar to your podcast, but now inside of a system with a clear objective. And that's what people pay for. They're paying for an outcome they're seeking, not necessarily the journey, but you've got to craft the journey so it gets the outcome. And that's what you get magical at with the content and creation.
So, what is the best part about being a curriculum developer?
Watching it come to life. My favorite part about being a curriculum developer is when you get to test that curriculum in a classroom, in a setting where someone is especially maybe a little bit resistant to learning. And then because you were able to find a way to get incentives that work for them, to find motivators and little pieces of something that will create intrigue in the learner, it's that part when you test the curriculum and then it works. And somebody who maybe wouldn't have said yes or gone forward on a topic is now like, I love this. As an example, when I teach economics, a lot of times students will come in scared, like, oh, I hate economics. And then when they finish the class, they're like, oh my God, this applies to my life for real right now. I want to study economics more. And that value, when you see people fall in love with learning, that's why I stay in the game.
So, what is the best kind of content that lends to your program as the easiest?
Well, recently, EdgeTech has really been serving institutions and bringing it to the school level. We primarily service private high schools. So for me, a content that would make it valuable is something that will help the high school student to advance in some sort of elective, character development. It could be test taking skills. It can be college preparation or career planning. One of my favorites to do is the character development, though, because that's the part where you get to choose who you're going to be in the world. So any content that helps someone to build a skill, one of the big things I talk about with my students is how are you going to monetize that? How do you turn that into something that will pay you so that you can keep doing this thing you love? And so anyone who has content that brings skills that those students can then learn and apply and get paid for, those are good content too to bring forward on my campus.
So, what is one thing you think kids should know about being a curriculum developer?
One thing you should know about being a curriculum developer. Yes, that I would say, is there one thing? I'm not sure. But in order to become a curriculum developer, you really have to love learning. And you really want to be curious. It's important that you're curious, not only to package what has been taught, but to bring in new ways. And if you're an investigator, someone called me an education artist one day. She's like, you're kind of like an education artist. So if you want to be a curriculum developer, don't just be the nuts and bolts and, okay, I can take this content and line it up. AI can do that these days. But what are you going to do that brings forward life and pizzazz and that jazzy feeling to the curriculum? What's going to make it have levels and gaming and intrigue so that your learner keeps wanting to go through that when there are so many options in the world that they could be doing right now?
Now, here's like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we are back here talking with Dr. Crystal Gifford, a curriculum developer that's also a public speaker. Okay, so I met you at an event where you were speaking. So how does being a public speaker help grow your business of curriculum development?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. In fact, I found that speaking has been the key to me opening doors everywhere I go. That's my gift. And also sometimes that's the best way to get your voice heard. And as an economist, remember we talked about leverage. Leverage is when you can get multiple people to hear your message at one time, as you're doing in the show. So as a speaker, you get to be in front of your audience at a higher level. You're immediately positioned as the expert in the room, and people want to hear what you have to say. And you get to kind of show up and bring personality, entertain while educating, which is always fun. For me, it helps when I get in front of the room because people then get to find out, hey, this person can help me develop curriculum, or she can help me organize my thoughts around it so that I know if it makes sense and will make money. And if it's worth, because building the systems, you asked me about systems. Systems can be expensive to build. So first you want to be sure that you have a proper process for those systems. Otherwise, what's this investment about? So how do you invest in all of this is to become aware of where things are effective. And speaking for me has shown over the years to be the most effective way to get in front of the most people.
So, Crystal, do you ever get nervous right before you go on stage?
I would say always, but differently than when it was new. So when speaking was new, I had nerves as in, oh my gosh, what if I mess up? Oh my gosh, what if I trip? You know, those little things, right? What if I say the wrong things? What if I forget? Now as an experienced speaker, I find that I don't feel so nervous about will I mess up, but I do always have that extra energy that comes that you can interpret as nerves or excitement because I'm curious every time what's going to happen with this audience, what will come out of this talk, what will this audience pull out of me, because some pieces of my work, it's got a bullet point but it's not scripted. So the audience and the energy of the room will actually pull out of me which stories are going to apply here. And so there's always that like what's going to show up feeling. So it kind of changes from nervous to excited over time, but there's never a time that I just walk on with no energy or emotion behind it at all, ever.
So, what is the hardest part about creating systems for your clients?
I would say the hardest part is the when it gets monotonous. As I mentioned, I'm more of like a business education artist. So I don't really, once I figure something out, I'm kind of over it. Like, okay, figured it out. Let's move on to the next thing. And it really takes consistency and dedication and staying in something and doing it again and again the same way to get good at it. So for me, the hardest part about building systems was staying in it long enough to get proficient and then get good at it so that I could then hire a team to build it. Because if you don't understand what you're building, it's really difficult to hire someone to ask them to help you do it.
So, what should a kid listening right now do to prepare if they want to grow up and be a curriculum developer?
Know that it's okay to make mistakes. Like, really make a lot of mistakes. Mistakes mean you're doing something, mistakes mean you're moving forward. And in curriculum development, I think the biggest problem that traditional education has brought is we punish you for failing and we reward you for being perfect. And I want to say, if you're going to be a curriculum developer in the coming age, what I hope we're moving into as a society, be ready to fail forward, fail a lot, fail fast. Really, the learning comes when we do something incorrectly, because then we get to look and say, oh, okay, what could I do better? Or now I know one way that doesn't work. And really be willing to fail forward, and ask a lot of questions and get curious and test things out. And the best curriculum comes when you're really willing to try things that no one has tried before.
So, what is the most misunderstood part about your business?
People think that curriculum development is boring, and they think it's because school is boring, therefore curriculum development is boring. And I think that's really a misunderstanding. When you think about it, when you're designing curriculum, you are literally deciding what things will people focus their time, their energy, their attention, and sometimes even their money on that. And that's the resources we bring to the table. So really understanding the value of what you're creating is so powerful. And I always, all of you, Tiberius, what you're doing, and all of your listeners, you have got it in you. Don't let anyone tell you that you need something else. What you do best, that is your thing to shine, and you really can bring that forward in the world.
So, have you ever had to turn down a client because there's just you just thought that there's no way that I can turn that into a program?
I won't say I've turned down content. So if in this world any type of content could potentially have viewers, and we see that more and more as we move into people having their emotional animals, and now animals have channels, right? So things evolve quickly, so anything could be turned into it. And if you think it can't, maybe we just haven't expanded our thinking yet. But here's when I will turn down a client: if they don't yet have an audience, if no one's listening, if they haven't started generating a buzz where people are like, give us more, it's really not the time to invest in making high-end courses and systems, because maybe that's not, you might do all of that investing and nobody buys it. So the time that you want to come to do a higher end course build is when people are saying, Tiberius, where's your class? Tiberius, where when they start coming to you, it's time to build a course for them.
So, who can you say was the person that helped drive your passion the most?
I want to say, of course, everyone can say their dad, but when I was 4 years old, I complained to my dad because we listened to books and audios and preacher tapes, and he was a preacher. And I complained, and I wanted music like other kids. So he got me my own set of tapes. And so I want to put it all the way back to a program called Nightingale Conant. And Tiberius, you're not going to remember this, but there are these things called cassette tapes. And when I started, we put cassette tapes in a thing, and we'd have to rewind it and do all of these things. And these lessons were giving up your excuses, how to make your own happy day, take responsibility for your own life, creating your own world was the name of the program. And I feel like that initiative that my dad had when I was 4 years old has become such a pivotal moment in my life and a way of being, that now I have many people I look up to. Right now I'm studying billionaires, so I'm looking at Sarah Blakely and other female billionaires that have made it in the world, to say, okay, if I know I want to create an empire, what does that look like? And I'm studying tech people because I want to create mine in the space of EdTech. So really just looking at that, I would say it started with my dad, but there are many people throughout life who've inspired me.
Okay, so what is the best advice that you've ever received, and who gave you that advice?
I have a great answer for this. Actually, I love this question. Um, you, I didn't know I was going to be talking about this today, but when I was with some friends a few years ago, we went out in a boat and we had an experience with manatees, and those manatees played with us. It was so magical, and it was like we were having a telepathic conversation. It was crazy. And so as we were leaving, I looked at my friend Dan, who was with us at the time on the boat. He was the captain of our boat. It was a boat. And I looked at him, I said, oh, I hope they're not sad that we're leaving. And he said, interesting take. If you're going to tell yourself a story that you can't possibly know the real outcome, why not pick a story that makes you feel happy and not sad? That changed my life. From this day forward, I have always looked at it like, where am I telling myself a story that I can't even prove to be true, that's lowering my happiness? I will shift that story and say, well, if I can't know, then I'm going to say it's this until otherwise noted. Right. And within bounds of being safe, of course. I want to say that because this is a kids show. So remember, safety first. But sometimes just tell yourself a story that makes you feel happy because we can't know the real truth. If you think your friend is thinking badly about you, maybe she is, but maybe she's not. And so if you start to tell yourself, maybe my friend's just having a bad day and I'm going to sit back and give patience, then your life gets to be happier. And it really doesn't matter what your friend was thinking. Eventually, your friend will come to you and tell you the truth.
So what message do you tell children all over the world about the work that you do?
The best learning comes through play. And the thing I tell children, Tiberius, is you are my teachers. You are my teachers. I might be standing in a position as the teacher, as the professor, but you are my teachers. I am learning the world in new eyes through you. I've done all the learning I could on my path, and I can keep learning tech and I can add skills, but the learning I'm gaining is coming from you and the way you see the world and your perspective. So keep doing it, keep going forward. That's what I want to always tell kids. You are my teachers, so just keep on being you.
So on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we are back with Dr. Crystal Gifford, the CEO of EdgeTech Global. So what was that one thing that happened in your career that you did not expect?
The biggest thing that happened for me that I did not expect was becoming a curriculum developer or a professor at all. When I was in college, I thought I was going to be an investment banker. And I set out on that path, and I found out very quickly that it just didn't fit who I was as a personality. So when I thought I was just going to take a minute and figure out what I was going to do with my life, that's when I walked into a place and became a professor. So it was education in general kind of snuck up on me. Although if I look back at my childhood, the clues were always there.
So do you think making curriculum and systems make the world a better place?
I sure hope I make the world a better place with curriculum. I think if you just go in to copy what's been done, you're going to do an okay job of keeping things going in the world. But if you can go in with an advancement of that curiosity and intrigue that we've been talking about, I believe you really can make the world a better place by designing new ideas. The young people now, I hope that someday you work for EdgeTech Global and help me to design. I want to create games. I want learning to be fun. I want it to be engaging. I want it to be addictive the way video games are addictive. How do we make learning addictive? Learning of good things that bring us to what we want. So yes, I hope so, Tiberius. I really hope that I am making an impact in the world, and I hope we keep doing that even better.
So what have you learned about yourself that you wish that you knew earlier?
I wish I knew earlier that I'm awesome. I think it took me until in my mid 40s before I really got it that I'm bringing something powerful to the world. And not because I did something awesome, but because I just choose every day to be the best version of myself. And it doesn't mean I'm always awesome every single day. It means that every single day I'm looking at what's the best I have to give this day. And I'm really proud of that in myself. And I wish that my young self could really see that. Like, it's okay. You're not supposed to be perfect. This is the part where you're supposed to be failing forward, and give myself a little more grace.
So if you could change anything to make your job easier or better, what would it be?
This is controversial, but I would have a team of robots. I am so looking forward to the day when robots do all the menial tasks for us. There's so many little things in a day that take us out of our focus, that we could be in our high level genius thinking, but we're so busy doing the nitpicky little things. And I say I don't cook because, hey, someone else can do that way more effectively than me, and I can use my time over here. And so I'm really excited for the day when we have lots of robots to
So,
help us.
okay, so Crystal, on your off time, what are your favorite things to do?
I love to go on my bike, and I'm not an avid biker. I can't go that far. Like 15 miles is about how far I can go. So I love to ride my bike. I like to study. I know, but who would want a curriculum developer who doesn't love learning so much that we study in our spare time? I like to dance and spend time with friends and to go wherever people are feeding me.
So, do you play any video games? And if so, what is your favorite one?
Now, I grew up on Mario Brothers and I did love it in the day. Right now, my favorite one, ironically, is Street Fighter. And I'll tell you why, because I don't know what I'm doing anymore with the video games. But in Street Fighter, I just go ham and just like and touch all the buttons and go, 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 go. And I win. And I can't win any video games, but I can win Street Fighter. So it's my favorite.
So, what is your favorite book to read?
I'm gonna have to go with Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I say that one because I have studied it the most over the years, and it goes in layers and layers and layers and layers. And in my youth, I studied the Bible and loved it because it went in layers and layers and layers. And as an adult, I've leaned more toward business and nonfiction. And I feel like every time I go back to Think and Grow Rich, I'm getting another layer of depth that I can learn from it. So it's a living book for me.
So, what was the biggest mistake that you've ever made? And how did it change you as a person?
I have made so many mistakes, Tiberius. I don't even know if I could have one biggest one, but I'll tell you a general mistake that I made, which was in my youth. I knew by the age of 19, I began studying finance, and I set out on a path where I was I was doing all the things, like saving and the investing and the all the things they said the big proverbial they in the world say to do. And somewhere along the way, I got so passionate about my business that I started putting over investing, and I would borrow money on my personal account to invest in my business. And I sort of got myself in a giant ship of a business that didn't yet have a real customer base. We didn't have consistent customers yet. I'm investing as if we do. This is why, by the way, that I have that limitation for clients, that I don't let them invest like that, because I made those mistakes. And so I would say over investing, having a little more passion than wisdom, was the bigger grand mistake that I made. But it also allowed me to fail fast so that I've already had that giant failure in life. So it's not a problem that it happened, but it certainly felt like it in the moment.
Okay. Can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid show. But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Okay. I shouldn't say this, but I think you should break rules. I think it's important to break rules. And I'm sorry, parents, but this is my truth. And he asked you the thing I'm not supposed to say. And I think that parents are designed to hold the rules because someone has to teach us structure, and that's important. But it's also important to have people, adults, that can guide you in your life, where you get by with some things, where maybe something your parent doesn't let you do, that person lets you kind of get by with it a little bit. I think that's really important, because learning to press your boundaries and knowing where to set your own boundaries and having someone who gives you the freedom to do that, I think that's a really important part of growth. But don't tell your parents I said that.
Oh, well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you and what you do?
Your listeners, I think if you're listening and you're a child, I want to learn from you. That's the first thing. And if you're listening and you just love Tiberius like I do, and you want to make an impact in the world of learning the way Tiberius is, the way EdgeTech Global is, then reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your story. If you're in EdTech, I'd love to collaborate because I am on a mission to bring the fun back to learning and really make kids look forward to school again.
So, do you have a Facebook or a website for my listeners who want to follow you?
I absolutely do. You can go to edgetechglobal.com, and that's edge like on the edge, EDGE, tech, TECK, global.com. And that will get you to our website. From there, you can contact us, you can inquire, or you can get some little prizes on the page.
So, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
I think you forgot to ask me what's my favorite treat.
What is it?
This is not even a sweet treat. My favorite treat is a latte. I love when I go to a restaurant that I haven't been there before to taste and test their latte.
Touche. I'm also a big coffee drinker. But thank you, Crystal, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
I absolutely can. I'd love to.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call your computer solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad, my computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling your computer solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And thank you, Crystal, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we're going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding problems for me to solve, and today, we're going to talk about video views. Okay. So Liam is a content creator who uploads short videos to his social media account. Each video he uploads gains about 1,500 views in the first 3 days. He plans to upload 3 videos every week, so how many views will Liam's videos get in total after 4 weeks? Liam's most popular video usually gets twice as many views as his average video. So how many views would a popular video likely get? Well, first is a world problem because, well, everyone knows you have to have views if you're a content creator. So first you have to figure out how many videos will be made in those 4 weeks. So you see in the problem that he wants to make 3 videos a week. So that's easy. 3 times 4 weeks is just 12 videos total. You have to multiply that by the 1,500 viewers per video. So that's 12 times 1,500. That's about 18,000 views. That's amazing. But wait, there's more. They want to know how many views a popular video would get. Now, since it's twice as much, you just take 1,500 and times it by 2 and you get 3,000 views. So, Crystal, does the amount of views of videos make a difference in the systems that you create?
It really does. And it comes back to that having people who are an audience viewing, but more so than views, it might even be that they're engaging. How many engaged viewers are following you? Then it might be ready to monetize that.
Well, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math with your work?
I use math every day. I use structures and systems and formulas to say I want this many modules or this many lessons in something. I find that having math at the front of my mind and keeping math fresh allows me to take advantage of things quickly, to make quick decisions, to run quick math like you did with the 1,500 times 2, like boom, now we know what the number is. And so just being quick on your toes opens a lot of doors.
Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for your help with Math Corners.
My pleasure.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week we're going to talk about integrity. For me, I think integrity is doing what is right, even when no one else is looking. The qualities of integrity is honesty, sincerity, truthfulness, and fairness. So in science class last week, we had a group project, and one of my teammates didn't do their part. When the teacher asked if everyone contributed equally, I had to decide whether to cover for them or tell the truth. I politely explained that I ended up doing most of the work because they didn't finish their part. It felt awkward, but I knew it wasn't fair to pretend everything was fine. The teacher gave us a chance to fix it together, and I felt good knowing that I had been honest. That's what integrity means, to me speaking up and doing what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. So, Crystal, do you always do most of the work in the projects?
I would say I do the appropriate amount. I'm really good at delegating and also really good at showing up on the part that I know how to do or how to support. I'm a good support person because I have multiple skills, at least to the basic level. And, if I know I'm not an expert in something, then I'm happy to let the person who is. So really, I would say the answer to that depends on the group. Some groups I can sit back because they've got it, and some groups I've got to be full in and probably do most of it.
So, Crystal, of all of the heart of lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
See the most. This is going to sound very strange because I just told you to break rules. But I feel like the thing that surprises me that of these is obedience. And that is because we were told to be obedient to others. And so it seems like you're a rebel when you're not obedient to other people. But if you look deeper, obedience can be obedience to that inner voice, obedience to that higher calling, whatever you follow, that voice that that you trust, that never leads you wrong, that voice that tells you, no, I don't think you should go to this thing with your friends because someone's going to get in trouble. When you start to become obedient to that part, that inner knowing, I believe that then you're getting real power. So obedience, but maybe a little bit differently than what most people would think about it with that word.
We should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely, yes. Integrity is powerful. Obedience is also a powerful tool. These values, these virtues that you're proclaiming, wow, like if someone lives by those values, they are going to go forward far in life. And most importantly, the relationships that they build with others can become strong and grow over time because good friendships are based on good values that are shared.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Crystal Gifford for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about working in curriculum development and the CEO of a global company.
Thank you so much, Tiberius. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Well, do you mind giving your social media and website again?
Absolutely. So you can reach my website at edgetechglobal.com. And if you want to find me on Instagram, it's Dr. Dr. Crystal Gifford, Gifford, and that's Crystal with a C.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, Canteen 98, Soul Radio 24/7, Easyway TV, and all of the other stations that air my show. Now, please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Crystal, are you subscribed yet?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, Dad, you better check it. Oh, and be sure to leave me a comment if you want to work as a curriculum developer. I answer all the comments myself. Also, be sure to listen to next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy!